A Soviet submarine went through the Bermuda Triangle. 93 sailors instantly aged 20 years. The north of the Atlantic Ocean is notorious for an area called the Bermuda Triangle. For hundreds of years, there have been countless peculiar incidents happening here, covering the most terrifying mysteries in the world. Many ships, planes, and even hot air balloons have mysteriously disappeared while passing through the infamous area. And to the public's surprise, after years or even centuries, these vehicles suddenly reappeared in the same place. This triangular area is made up of 3 points: the city of Miami in the state of Florida, USA, the Bermuda Islands, and the island of Puerto Rico. Each side of the triangle is about 2,000 kilometers long. Just by mentioning the name of this place, people would instantly think of terrifying mysteries and different theories to explain the disappearance of many ships and airplanes, as well as the space-time distortion. Although fearful and skeptical, people were yearning to find out the truth behind these phenomena. As the Bermuda Triangle is renowned for various unexplained supernatural phenomena, the nickname Devil's Triangle has become typical of it. Since it was recorded in 1851, an estimate of 8,127 people have mysteriously gone missing in this area. Sailors' thrilling vanish. The mysterious disappearance was first recorded in 1840. The ship, Rosa Lane, carrying a large amount of perfume and wine, was on its way from France to Cuba when it suddenly lost contact. Weeks later, the ship was found in perfect condition at the Bermuda Triangle without a trace of any crew members. The cargo in the cabin was intact. The fruits on the boat were still curiously fresh. The reason these sailors went missing still remains an unsolved mystery till this day. The only lucky survivor was a starving canary. What really happened on the boat? Since then, such disappearances have become common in the area. 20 years in the blink of an eye. Another strange case was an old Soviet submarine. The ship went missing at Bermuda for just 1 minute and then reappeared in the Indian Ocean, which was 14,000 kilometers away. The submarine seemed to jump halfway around the world in a super short time. More remarkably, its 93 sailors aged 20 years mysteriously. After the incident, Soviet scientists and military immediately began to study the submarine and its crew. They issued 3 reports. Dr. Aries Manzarov, a member of the research team, stated that this submarine has entered a time tunnel. Although we do not have enough evidence and scientific basis for this part, apart from that explanation, there is nothing more reasonable. One sailor on the ship recalled, the submarine went through space-time all of a sudden and also stopped suddenly. Then everything went back to the way it was. But we felt something was wrong. And then we brought the submarine to the surface. The whole thing happened so fast that we didn't have enough time to reflect on anything. When we exited the tunnel, we received a message from the navigator that the ship was currently at the east of Africa, 10,000 kilometers from its initial destination. Upon hearing the news, the submarine immediately contacted the Soviet Naval Headquarters. They confirmed that the submarine's position was indeed in the Indian Ocean. After that, from the Indian Ocean, the submarine returned to its base in the Black Sea, and the sailors were carried by plane to a laboratory in Moscow to conduct medical examinations. The test results shocked everyone to the core. All sailors had aged remarkably, which was shown through their external features such as gray hair, wrinkles, weaker eyesight, and less elastic muscles. From the medical perspective, this was truly a tragedy, but from the physics perspective, it was a shocking discovery. What the crew experienced was the best evidence for the existence of a wormhole, where time passes much faster than on Earth, about 20 years a minute. 25 forever young American soldiers. However, there were opposite cases in which people ended up maintaining their youth after going through a time tunnel. In 1945, the U.S. cruiser Indianapolis was torpedoed by a Japanese submarine in the southern Pacific Ocean. In 1989, 25 sailors on board were rescued by Filipino fishermen. It is 44 years from 1945 to 1989. This period could be significant for ordinary people, but for the sailors on that lucky ship, This period was only a 9-day adventure. The U.S. Navy at the time was amazed to find that these soldiers looked exactly the same as 45 years ago when the cruiser was sunk. The sinking of the USS Indianapolis was one of the most unfortunate events in U.S. naval history. After heading straight to the Philippines, carrying internal components of atomic bombs that were later dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, it was suddenly attacked by 5 torpedoes from a Japanese submarine and eventually sunk into the sea. There were 1,196 people on deck at the time, but only 25 survived. Time tunneling seems to be the only explanation for this event. The sudden reappearance of a 36-year-old missing hot air balloon. In 1954, in the Caribbean, 2 pilots named Sierra Logan and Dale Norton and 50 other people participated in a hot air balloon race over the sea. At the time, the sky was clear and bright. Then suddenly, the hot air balloon disappeared in everyone's sight. 36 years later in 1990, this hot air balloon surprisingly appeared on the coast of Cuba and North America. The Cuban military discovered this hot air balloon on radar and was extremely concerned because they thought it was a secret weapon sent by the U.S. military to attack Cuba. The Cuban army then sent a fighter jet to shoot down the balloon. Chased by aircraft, the hot air balloon finally had to make an emergency landing on the beach. The 2 pilots were rescued by a cruiser and taken to a secret naval base for investigation. Cuban pilot Al Gidu recalled, "There was nothing in the sky at the time. A hot air balloon just appeared out of nowhere." An investigator from Chicago named Carl Gore verified Rogan's and Norton's testimony. He concluded, "They are participants of the hot air balloon race in 1954 who have mysteriously gone missing." When interrogated, the 2 answered, "At the moment, we felt a little pain all over our body like there was a small electric current running through us. In the blink of an eye, everything in front of us, including the ocean and sky, turned to white-gray. Next thing I knew, the Cuban Army plane was right in front of me." Carl Gore thinks that the balloon must have entered a space-time tunnel, whose time is slower than that of Earth. They may have entered a magical time tunnel. For them, it only took a little while, but for us, it has passed 36 years, he said. A disappearing yacht found at the same position after 8 years. In August 1981, a British yacht named Seabreeze carrying 6 people mysteriously disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. 8 years later, the yacht strangely reappeared at the exact location where it was missing. 6 people on the boat were unharmed, but it seemed that they had lost their sense of time and were completely unaware that 8 years had passed. They felt like a few seconds had gone by, and hardly anything had been done. There are so many peculiar cases happening in the Bermuda Triangle that people don't dare go through this area. The above-mentioned cases are some significant evidence for the existence of 2 types of wormholes, one with slower time lapse and the other with a much faster speed of time. Many residents near the area reported seeing a large cloud-shaped tunnel there, which is potentially a space-time tunnel. These cases strengthen scientists' belief in the theory of parallel universes, which claims that there are many different dimensions simultaneously, not just the current one as we know. In these dimensions, time passes faster or slower than in ours, and the space-time tunnel could be a means of traveling among these dimensions. Interestingly, world-famous physicist Professor Stephen Hawking from Cambridge University once suggested that black holes could be a way to another universe. The other universe here could be understood as another dimension, with a different concept of time. Scientists also came up with other explanations for the disappearances, such as undersea volcanoes, active seismic sites, and magnetic anomalies. Whatever the argument is, we can't deny that a large number of ships and aircrafts have disappeared in this area, not even leaving the slightest trace, and often without emergency calls. Where did they go? Let's hope that all those crew members are safe and sound. Do you believe in the existence of other dimensions? Please leave your comments below. If you find this video interesting, please share it with your friends. Thank you for watching, and see you next time!